Hello everyone, I am Chandra Bhanu, back again with a new version of web series on IT education. Today I am going to discuss about Python programming. These days in the IT industry, along with Java technologies, we are very popularly listening to this buzzword called Python programming with Python and data science, Python programming, and all the other things. Python is so popular in this today's IT industry that Python and Java are going hand in glove. So it becomes an essential task for a programmer to have a very clear idea on Python technologies, what Python is, and how Python works. Actually, in fact, what Python can do for us to our human society. Well, that's the reason I have divided my discussion into 4 different segments. So the first segment would be what Python is in fact, the features of the Python that we have got. Who uses Python is the first section that I'm just going to discuss. The second one is the version history. What is the latest version that we're just using for Python and how Python, what are the versions to be downloaded, the software requirements that we've got, and all the other things. Then the most important thing is the architecture. The Python's architecture is the third phase of our discussion in our today's series of web series. And the final thing that I'd be doing is basically writing up small, simple, first basic Python programming, what it can do and all. So that's how I've just started up. So, well folks, let's start this discussion. Let's start our discussion. In fact, what's this actual Python is? So, when we talk about Python, Python is a multi-purpose web graphical user, scripting, multi-purpose, general-purpose programming language. Just like Java, just like .NET, Python is again another interesting general purpose and multi-purpose programming. So we can design and develop web applications out of it. We can work with graphical user interface programming like what we do for Java as Swing programming, and as what we do for .NET as Windows programming. So likewise Python also has got its own graphical user interface programming. And we even scripting like JavaScripts, like a lot of scripts are there like Visual Basic Script, Node.js, AngularJS. Likewise, Python also has got its own scripting, etc. So that's the reason the first terminology is Python is a multi-purpose programming language, clear programming language. So it's an object-oriented, absolute object-oriented programming language. And the other important thing is Python is an interpreted language and a strong typed and dynamically typed language. That is, it is absolutely case sensitive like Java. So it just identifies between the lowercase text and the uppercase text that we have got. So that's what we call the basic introduction. We've just started off with what Python is. It's a multi-purpose web graphical user interface scripting languages which is absolutely object-oriented and interpreted. So now, when we have different programming languages like Java, .NET, and all the other technologies, why Python now? And we'll be covering that in further sessions. But when we just look into the features of the Python, you can get a very clear idea about why we need to use Python and all. Python is very easy and simple to learn, very simple. Its syntax is so simple that we don't have hard jargon of learning the code, what we do for our other programming languages like .NET, Java, C, C++, and all. We have an organized structure over there. We just need to start from main and then get back to the data types and then followed by the other statements and all in all the other programming languages. But whereas Python is so simple that whatever the thing that we get in our mind to start writing up code, we can just do it. That's the reason it's very simple and easy to learn. Then Python is absolutely open source. So it's free to work with. You can just comfortably download it from python.org. Then we can just work with it, we can download it and we can develop a lot of applications on it. Then unlike Java, unlike .NET, Python is also platform independent. Now I'm going to discuss about how it becomes platform independent in my further coming discussions also. And moreover, we do have a very interactive shell and dynamically typed programming language. Dynamically typed, I here mean it's absolutely case sensitive, and followed by it has got all the dynamic functionalities of a programming language. Like it can accept, say it has got data types, it has got control statements, it has got arrays, more than arrays, it has got a lot of things like lists, tuples, dictionaries, a lot of things are there in Python. So that's the reason it's absolutely a dynamic typed programming language. Moreover, cross-platform. Cross-platform, I here mean Python can work anywhere on Windows operating system, it can work on Linux operating system, it can work on Macintosh OS or any of the operating systems that we can need to work. Python, it's cross-platform quite comfortably well. And very specially, Python comes in with different types of syntaxes. So the original Python is the Python version that we've got. Now suppose if we just need to write, if we need to integrate Python in our .NET, we call it as Iron Python. If we need to integrate it with Java, we call it as Jython. See, that means Java mixed with Python code. .NET mixed with Python code is Iron Python. Java mixed with Python is Jython. C with Python is C Python. So likewise, we have got different flavors. There are a lot of flavors that we have got for Python. So that's the speciality, another speciality that we have got for Python, in fact. The normal Python is the thing that we're just working with. So these are the features. It's simple, easy to learn, open source, platform independent, interactive shell in the sense we can just interact it with it quite easily and comfortably, dynamically typed, cross-platform, and has got different flavors. That's the speciality of Python. Who uses it? As I've told you when I've started my discussion that Python is a very popular buzzword bubbling up these days for data science and all. So a lot of companies like Google, Yahoo Groups and Maps, National Weather Services, Nokia, Red Hat, the list goes on. Every company these days are shifting their code development to Python. So Python is so popular, Python is so interactive, Python is so user-friendly that every one of the companies are using. So that's the reason it has become very important in IT field industry today to learn. Now let us just see who has invented it. What are the different releases that we've got for Python? See, Python was first initially created in the year 1989 by Guido van Rossum. So he has created it. So then Python has started its version from 1.0, and then later in the year 2000 we had 2.0 version. Then Python 3 was there in 2008. So likewise, the latest version now we are in with is Python 3.6 in 2016. So but the stable version that we use for our training is basically Python 3.5. So because that will be the stable version that we just use it basically. So these are the different version releases that we have got for Python. So created in 1989 by Guido van Rossum. So he has created it basically for Python first, but it has become more popular these days when it got interacted itself with the other technologies. And moreover, it has got different huge set of small applications, packages that are included in it. Like what we call in Java as packages. We do got huge set of modules. There are different modules. We've got Panda. So Panda is a very popular module in Python that is used for data structures, data analysis, time series and statistics. So similarly NumPy in the sense it's numerical Python, it's a package, like it's a module. The package in the sense just like Java's package or namespaces in .NET. We have got huge number of packages. Since it's an open source, a lot of people have created a lot of third-party modules are there that can be incorporated into Python. So NumPy is one such very popular third-party module that got incorporated itself in Python, used for processing multi-dimensional arrays and single-dimensional arrays. Similarly, Panda is a package, very powerful package of data structures for data analysis, time series and statistics. Pillow is again another Python's module for imaginary library. PyQuery is jQuery Python. So we can use that particular thing for jQuery's version of Python. Sphinx is a Python documentation generator. So W3 lib is a library for web-related functions. Likewise, there are so many modules there, so many modules, and there is another one called Cherry PY. Cherry PY is an object-oriented HTTP framework. So Fiona is used for reading and writing a big data files. So these days, big data is also in use. For that, we just use Fiona module. So all these, which I've just mentioned it right now, are the modules that we use or packages that we use in our Python in order to make our Python work very efficiently. So all these modules can be downloaded from their respective environments that we just use in Python. Now, this is the version history. Now, actually, let us just look into the architecture of how Python works. So, a very simple pictorial representation. So, when we write Python programming, what actually is happening inside it? We're just going to discuss about that. So, when we write a Python program, let us assume so that we have taken a program called example, and remember all the Python programs takes an extension of .py, just like our Java's extension is .java, and .NET's C# extension is .cs. Similarly, Python's extension is example.py is the thing that we have got. We have written, let us assume that we have written a Python program, and this is our source code. We compile it, and in the sense we don't need actually, we just simply use, behind the scenes, this is the diagrammatic representation that you're just looking at with. But before, we don't compile, we don't do anything, we simply give a command, Python followed by file name .py. Then what's happening actually inside? That's what we call the architecture. Just like our Java, Python 2 creates basically a Python compiled file called bytecode. Python 2 creates a Python compiled file called bytecodes with an extension of .pyc. This is the extension that it just takes internally, and the bytecodes are created. And I'll just be showing you how to view the bytecodes also very shortly when I just write the code. So once the bytecode is generated, it gets loaded in PVM. Just like Java virtual machine for Java, Python has got PVM, which we call it as Python virtual machine. So now Python virtual machine converts our bytecodes to the machine understandable code that we have got. So it interprets inside, this compiled file gets interpreted. That's the reason why we call Python as an interpreted language. It just interprets this Python compiled file and then converts it into a machine understandable format and finally produces the output. It's exactly similar to that of Java's code that we just go with. In Java also the same thing. We just compile our Java source code, convert it to a bytecode, and bytecode gets loaded inside JVM, and it is when we interpret it, it is the JVM that converts our bytecodes to the machine understandable. The same way, Python also gets compiled using a Python compiler internally, and then it just creates a file called PYC, an extension called PYC internally. And then this PYC file runs in PVM and converts it to machine independent code. It's a PVM, that is the Python virtual machine, that converts it into machine understandable code, and finally the output gets generated. This is how a very simple architecture that it just looks like basically. But now, what are the software requirements? Now, having discussed about a simple version of the architecture that we've got for Python, what are the software requirements that we need in order to work with Python? So the Python software to be downloaded with the latest version, as I've told you that the stable version that we have got for Python is basically, can be had from python.org, and is basically 3.5 is the stable version. And similarly, we have got different integrated development environments, IDE tools called PyCharm. It's a community edition. I'm just going to show you right now. Or we can just have a Visual Studio Code, or we can have a Sublime editor. These are the list of editors that we can just need to download for Python. So I'm just going to show you where to download and how to get it. Yes, this is the website that we all need to download a Python. Python.org is the thing that we just need to click on with, and here it is. The latest one that we've got is 3.6.2, and this is for the Windows that we've got it. We can just download this, or we can even download 3.5 version or 3.4 or any of the versions that we've got. And the stable version is 3.5, and it's available for Windows or for Mac OS or even for other platforms of Linux and other things that we've got. So this is, once the Python gets downloaded, we get all the environment like Python compilers and the PVMs and all the other things that we've got. Then we have to download our IDE, the tool that we need to work with. And here comes the tool that we've got. Yeah, it's from the JetBrains that we have got. So we just need to say jetbrains.com. Once we get this, let us download the community edition, because I'm using community edition for my Python training, because professional edition is the purchaseware and it just comes only as a free trial. So let us just download the community edition. So then this supports all the functionalities. Downloading PyCharm is a very convenient way because it gives us the complete syntax support in order to work with. That's PyCharm for us basically. Once we download it, we just get Python editor like this, and this is how the Python editor looks like. You can just see here the Python's community edition. See, this is the project that we have, a project explorer window, and this is the code window. This is the place where we just do write our code for Python. And this is our terminal where we can compile our Python code, or rather interpret it, and finally get the output using PVM, which we call it as Python virtual machine. So this is how the Python the IDE looks like, or rather works with. And here it is. I've already created a file called ex2.py, or rather let me just create another one and I'll show you how it just rather works with. Or instead of PyCharm, we can even have our Visual Studio Code. This is Visual Studio Code for you. But this doesn't give much syntax support like what PyCharm does for us. Suppose Python is very strict on indentation. So it's a wonderful language which indents. Like whatever the statements that we write has to be indented. But that's not the case with Java that we have got, or .NET. But Python is very strict on it. Unfortunately, our Visual Studio Code, Microsoft's Visual Studio Code, doesn't give any of the support of the syntax that we have got for Python. So, but it's just an editor that we can just write with. But PyCharm can quite comfortably give us the support of all the entire syntax of the Python. First, suppose, let us just take up a very simple code. I'll just show you how to rather add the source code for, in a simple way, and how to compile it. The first thing that I've just created is to create a project. I've just created a new project over here. This is the project for you. So when we just create a project, the default project goes into the default location where our installation is available. And here it is. I'm just using Python 3.4 version, but the stable version that we've got is Python 3.5. Certain new features are added into that, which we'll just be discussing in our coming up sessions rather. So once we have this Python version basically, then after creating a project, then it's our turn to rather create a new Python file. Just click File, New, and then followed by Python file. Just selected the Python file like this. And it's here that I've just taken the file name as ex3.py. So named it as ex3.py. It's a Python file. It automatically takes an extension of .py. This is the extension that it just goes on with. Now, Python, unlike other programming languages, also does have commenting. So when we start a code, we just need to comment about the basic purpose of the code, what we are doing it, how we are writing it, why we need to write it and all. So let us have a very clear documentation for the code that we just do write. So let me just write it here as to start with the comments. Comments in Python are given in two different ways. Number one is that we just need to use a hash symbol. When we just use a hash, it's just like the shell programming that we use in our Linux. In Linux shell scripts also, we just comment it using a hash symbol. So I just write it as my first Python program. Just say my first Python program like this. So this is the commenting for you. Or we can just have a triple quote like this. We can just have another triple quote too. So, but there is an endangered with triple quote. If we declare a variable, this will be considered as a string. Our triple quote will be considered to be as a string, or otherwise it's comments over there. But it's always recommended to use a hash symbol. And here I just need to write, there is a statement called print, which we just need to do it. Print followed by welcome to Python programming. I'll just be writing it like this. Oops. This is where I've just been putting it like this. Welcome to Python. Yes. And Python is so simple as I've told you when I've just started our discussion, that it doesn't need any main function or any other thing. It's just simple that it's a straight away programming where you can just write a program or source code directly. Now, when we write this Python code and when we save this, you can as well do it with Control S. Control S does the saving mode. Scully, this one. And now I'm into the terminal mode of the PyCharm. So in order to run the Python code, Python followed by ex3.py. There it is. Once it just does, and there it is. Welcome to Python is gone. So that means we are just using a command called python ex3.py. But internally, it compiles, it interprets, it converts it to a bytecode, gets loaded into PVM, which we call it as Python virtual machine, and then gets converted to a machine code, and finally we are just seeing the output in the Windows environment. This is how the simple Python works. So this is how it just works with. Like suppose, if we need to take input, we can even as well take the input. We have got the data types in Python. It's very simple and easy. Now, as I've told you that in my earlier slide, that Python creates, in fact, the bytecodes. You can just see here, this was the slide that I was just focusing on with in my earlier discussion. It just creates a bytecode, and bytecode gets loaded in PVM. And it's the PVM that converts it into machine code. So now let us just check whether we have got bytecode or not, how to get the bytecode and all. In order to see the bytecode, we just need to say Python -m. There is an option called -m. dis is the command that we just need to give. And then I've said ex3.py like this. This is the thing that we've just given it. Yep, there it is. We've just got the bytecode over there. This is how the bytecode looks like in Python. So and this bytecode, once loaded in PVM, the Python virtual machine, gets converted to machine understandable format. That's how that's how the Python code works. That's how the Python code executes. I hope you've enjoyed my first video of the Python's introduction part. More coming up in my discussions as to how Python takes the input, what the data types are, and how control statements works. A lot of things there in our Python. I hope all of you have enjoyed the basic introduction of Python. If you like this video, please share and subscribe to our channel, ciiteducationnlr. More videos coming up, and thank you all for watching this particular video.